Okay, so today's plan is somewhat like this. We will be completing the characteristics part of the MOSFET in the first 35 to 40 minutes, and then we will be simulating the characteristics in LT Spice. So if you all recollect, this is the place where we had stopped last time. That is how the physically the MOSFET is connected. That is the VGS is connected between gate and source. VDS is connected between drain and source and body are connected to ground as per this particular circuit. Now, uh, just applying this is not enough. You have to consider three cases for the MOSFET. So all of you will write down this. First is that is the working of the MOSFET. In that we will write case 1. We will write here, this is nothing but case 1. In case 1, you should observe VGS is less than VTO and VDS is greater than 0. VGS is less than VTO and VDS is less than greater than or equal to 0. So if VGS, that is the gate to source voltage, is less than VTO, it does not mean it is less than 0. So generally, let us say if threshold voltage is 1 volt and VGS is 0.5 volts, 0.5 is less than 1 volt, no problem. But we can't say VGS is negative. Okay, we cannot say VGS is negative. But can we say VGS is greater than 0 and small? Can we say like this? This value of VGS is greater than 0. It is not greater than threshold voltage. So it is greater than 0 but small. So if VGS is greater than 0 and small, the MOS will be in which region of operation? Accumulation, depletion or inversion? You can unmute and answer. If VGS is greater than 0 but small, the MOS will be in which region of operation? Accumulation, depletion or inversion?
Depletion region.
Correct. The answer is correct. That is depletion region of operation. So MOS is in depletion region of operation. If it is in depletion region, we should understand that there should be a depletion layer. So there will be a depletion layer. So there is a depletion layer means you will draw this diagram like this, case 1. You will draw this diagram in short, and around this region like this which I have marked, you will show negative ions inside a circle. The meaning of that is they are negative immobile ions. They are negative immobile ions. So this is basically layer depleted of free charges. So if this layer is depleted of free charges, this layer is non-conducting. Does not conduct. So if it is non-conducting, there is no conducting path between drain and source, and hence the net current ID is equal to 0. So the current that will flow here, ID, is going to be equal to 0. So this region of operation is called as cut-off region of operation. Cut-off region. So the condition for cut-off is VGS is less than VTO. VDS कुछ भी होने दो. If VGS is less than VTO, if the gate voltage is less than threshold voltage, then the MOS will always be in the cut-off region. So once you are done copying this, write done in the chat box. So these three cases we will be testing in the characteristics, and MOSFET characteristics you should know by heart. I think it's the only characteristics which you will have to remember for very long as engineers. Okay, are you done with this? Okay, draw it in rough only, because anyways I am going to give you these slides. Okay. So let's go ahead. We will just summarize this thing. What happens when VGS is less than VTO and VDS is greater than 0. So application of a positive gate voltage, that is VGS less than VTO, will create a depletion layer beneath the gate. So even if VGS is less than VTO, it doesn't mean that it is negative. It is greater than 0, but it is small. The depletion layer is full of negative immobile ions and is non-conducting in nature. Hence, there is no conducting path between drain and the source, and therefore ID is equal to 0. And when current ID is 0, at that time we say the device is in cutoff region of operation. So this region of operation is useful when we are actually switching the MOSFET on off kind of scenario, but let's see that a little bit in detail later. The potential barrier which is there because of QBO prevents the free electrons from entering the depletion layer at this small value of VGS, and that is why the channel does not get formed and there is only depletion region. So please mind it, we have already done this, that channel, the definition of channel is depletion layer plus negative free electrons, whereas what we have got now in this case is only depletion layer. There is no free electrons and hence there is no channel. Now next case, that is what we do now is we say okay, so now if you want to operate the MOSFET, you will have to keep VGS greater than VTO. You will have to keep VGS greater than VTO. Now just to reiterate, in case 2 and case 3 are not very different. So in case 2, the value of VDS, so let me put it this way, the value of VDS can vary from, let's say, 0 to some maximum value. Okay, this is the value of VDS. When you move from 0 to some maximum value, in between you will encounter a point VGS minus VT. The deciding point is VGS minus VTO. So I will highlight on this. Now case 2 speaks about, so in case 2 and case 3, in both the cases VGS will be greater than VTO, but in case 2 speaks about what if VDS is between 0 and VGS minus VTO. This is my case 2. And case 3 speaks about what if VDS is greater than VGS minus VTO. So what is the deciding point? This is the deciding point and its value is around VGS minus VTO. So we will see this in little bit more detail. So now VGS is greater than VTO. That means the channel will be formed, but the definition of the channel is that it is the depletion layer. So there is a depletion layer, as well as there is going to be a, so there will be some kind of depletion layer like this, and inside the depletion layer you are having a channel. So please draw like this. Please note the shape of the channel is trapezoidal. Okay. The shape of the channel is trapezoidal, and here outside the channel region you can show some negative immobile ions. Now basically there is a connection between the drain and the source. So I have two questions. If current is flowing, what is the value of this current, or what is the formula of this current? So now current is not equal to 0, and why the shape of the channel is like this. Okay, these are my two concerns. So please draw this, that is VGS greater than VTO, and now VDS is in the range between 0 and VGS minus VTO. Now why that VGS minus VT only, why not something else? That's what we will see within few minutes. Once you are done copying this, write done in the chat box. Okay, Soham, but we'll just wait for 2 more minutes. So just everybody to be on track. Yes, Rohan. Okay, let's move ahead. So now we are having a channel and there is a connection between the drain and the source. So just reiterating, if VGS is greater than VTU, an N channel is induced between the drain and the source due to the phenomena of surface inversion. So we all know that if we apply a gate voltage greater than the threshold voltage, we will get surface inversion. In short, we will get an N channel. Therefore, there exists a conducting path between the drain and the source. Now, if you see, if VDS is 0, ID is 0. If VDS is 0, ID is 0. If VDS increases, ID also increases linearly with VDS. ID also increases linearly with VDS. So if I increase VDS from 0 and if my VGS is greater than VTO, ID will increase because you are increasing the supply voltage between the drain and the source. Now, if VGS increases, the more and more electrons will be pulled inside the channel, and because of that, the N channel conductivity is going to increase. Due to that, ID increases. So now you can see if VDS increases, ID increases, and if VGS increases, then also ID can increase. That means now there is a dual dependency on ID. That means ID is a function of both VGS as well as VDS. So this is what is there in this particular region. This region, this case 2, if the voltage conditions are like this, then this region of operation is called as linear or ohmic region of operation of the device. It is called as linear or ohmic region of operation of the device. No need to copy this, but just understand this thing that ID is a function of VGS as well as VDS. And this region of operation is called as linear or ohmic region of operation of the device. Now, the first question is why the shape of the channel is that way? Why the shape of the channel is trapezoidal? Now you can see that let VGS be some constant value which is greater than VTO. So once we keep a value of VGS greater than VTO, we will not change it. So we will say let VGS be equal to constant. And VGS is the voltage between gate and source. So you can note that VGD, the voltage between gate and drain, so this is plus minus VGS, okay, and if this is VGD plus and minus, if you apply a KVL here, so you can see here, we can see VGD minus VGS plus VDS equal to 0, and hence we can write VGD is equal to VGS minus VDS. So that is what we wrote here. VGD, that is the voltage between gate and drain, is VGS minus VDS. Now, if VDS increases, naturally you can see VGD is VGS minus VDS. So VGD is going to decrease because you are removing that VDS value from VGS and VDS value is increasing. Due to this, what will happen now? The surface potential on the drain side becomes lesser than the surface potential on the source side. So here now VGD is going to be less and VGS is comparatively constant. So we will say VGS is an increased value. So you can say that the drain side potential, surface potential on drain side will be lesser than the surface potential on the source side. And because of this, we know that the N channel thickness is a function of surface potential. So we had written a formula where we wrote here like this: XD is equal to root of 2 epsilon Si upon QNA, and then in bracket we wrote phi s minus phi f. So this surface potential is controlled by these values of VGS and VGD. So that is why the N channel thickness is a function of surface potential, and there is an imbalance of surface potential on the drain and the source side. So this is the formula XD, and hence there is a tapering of the N channel towards the drain side. So that is why the thickness on the source side is more, the thickness on the drain side is less, and that gives an effect of the trapezoidal channel. So this answers why shape of the channel is trapezoidal. The next thing is the equation of current. So here I am going to wait for some time so that you copy the equation of the current. One thing we have already noted by common sense, that ID is a function of VGS and VDS. But what exactly this function is, that is what we want to find out. So the function is ID is equal to mu n COX W by L into VGS minus VTO into VDS minus VDS square by 2. So you can identify ID is a function of both VGS as well as VDS. ID is a function of both VGS as well as VDS. If I take these two outside the bracket, I can get a slightly different term, but before that, mu and COX, these two terms together are called as process transconductance. They are called as what? Process transconductance, because mobility and COX, which ultimately depends on the thickness of the oxide layer, and the thickness of the oxide layer depends on what oxidation process you use, whether it's dry oxidation or wet oxidation. These terms are related to the process parameters, and hence it is called as process transconductance. When we multiply process transconductance with the device ratio, we call it as device transconductance. One very important thing you should observe is, let us say if W is 10 micrometers and L is 10 micrometers, the ID is going to be mu n COX. This ratio is 1, VGS minus VTO, VDS, and all these terms. Now, if I make this ratio to 10 nanometers, if I make this both as 10 nanometers, what is happening? The size of the device is reducing. The W and L are reducing means what? The size of the device is reducing, but the value of the current remains the same. So what this means is that when you reduce the size of the MOSFET, the current is going to remain the same. This is not true with BJT. Remember, in BJT, emitter has to be moderate in size, base has to be very small in size, and collector has to be very large in size. But in the case of MOSFETs, even if we reduce the size of the device, we can obtain the same current from the device. So this formula tells us that MOSFET supports something called as scaling. MOSFET supports scaling. That means you can make it smaller and smaller, and this is the reason why MOSFET is one of the most best candidates for integrated circuit design. So if you want to manufacture a chip, MOSFET is the natural choice, because the first criteria to go inside an integrated circuit is to become small, and become not just become small but give the same performance. So that criteria the MOSFET satisfies very easily. Now if I take these two outside this bracket, you can see this becomes mu n CoxW by L 2 times of VGS minus VTO into VDS minus VDS square. So this is the formula for the current flowing through the MOSFET in linear region of operation. In which region of operation? Linear. So please note this down. Once done, write done in the chat box. Any doubts, please ask. Unmute and ask. While others are copying, you can, those who have doubts should directly unmute and ask.
So
Yes, go on.
what would be the difference between the process transconductance and the device transconductance?
See, the if the W/L ratio is 1, okay, then there is no difference between process transconductance and device transconductance. But many times what happens is length is kept constant and width is at least 2 to 3 times of length. So your mu n Cox dominates a value, but that value gets multiplied by some amount when you change the dimension of the device. So to account for that, we use another term that is called as device transconductance. So in a way, how process transconductance changes if I change the size of the device, that is given by device transconductance. Did you get it, Swam?
Yes, sir.
So this is actually Kn dash. So Kn is Kn dash into W by L. So they are not different, one depends on the other. So another thing that we should observe here is that this equation is a parabolic equation. It's having some squares, okay? It's a linear equation in VGS, but it's a parabolic equation in VDS. Its ID is a linear equation with VGS, but it has a parabolic equation as far as VDS is concerned. And the output characteristics will have ID versus VDS. So the output characteristics will have some kind of, parabolic concepts. So let's see that. So this mu n Coxw by L, okay, forget this too, mu n Coxw by L, you can call it as Kn. So you can see here, this is nothing but what? Kn. So the ID equation you can simply write, what you should actually remember is always this, Kn by 2 twice of VGS minus VTO into VDS minus VDS square. So just a substitution, nothing else. Other terms are the same. So you can just add this one line extra, that is the last line. Replace mu n Coxw by L by Kn. Okay. So this equation I am just taking here at the top, and you can see that the above equation is a parabolic equation in VDS. So it's a parabolic equation in VDS. Okay. And Kn is the device transconductance. What is W? W is the width of the MOSFET and L is the length of the MOSFET. So length is actually the distance between the drain and the source, and how much this channel extends behind, that is nothing but the width of the MOSFET. Now we need to introspect about the characteristics. So like I said that ID and VDS, they are parabolic. There is a parabolic equation in VDS. So ID should vary parabolically with VDS. So on x-axis we will have VDS, because ID is a function of y and ID is the dependent variable, whereas VDS is the independent variable. So we will take an axis, we will put VDS and ID on x and y respectively. We will put VDS on and ID on x and y respectively. So for a particular value of VGS, let's say VGS is, for the time being, let's say it's 1 volt. So at VGS equal to 1, this is 1, and let's say VTO is 0.5. So VGS minus VTO will be 0.5. So VGS minus 1. So what the equation suggests is that the current will increase, it will go to a maxima, and it should reduce again. Similarly, if I increase the value of VGS to, let's say, 2 volts, then you saw ID is a function of VGS as well. So it will again increase and go to a higher maxima. So let's say here VGS is 2 volts and here VGS is equal to 3 volts. Let's say this is equal to 4 volts. So every time you increase the value of VGS, a new maxima is achieved by the parabolic equation. Okay. So VGS1 is less than VGS2, less than VGS3, and less than VGS4. Just hold on, don't write this. So this is what mathematics tells us. Okay, this is what mathematics tells us. And these are the maximum points. If I join these points, then the locus that I get, locus means the line passing through all these points, is called as the VGS minus VTO locus. It is called as the VGS minus VTO locus. So like this point will be VGS1 minus VT. If I extend this point down, this point will be VGS2 minus VTO. This point will be VGS3. This point will be VGS4. Now, we are increasing our VDS. Only in the range of 0 to VGS minus VTO. We are increasing it in the range of what? 0 to VGS minus VTO. So actually a real MOSFET will not exhibit this negative transconductance. This increase will be there, but decrease will not be observed. And that is the reason why, in fact, current remains constant. And that is the reason why we say that this equation for ID, this equation means which equation? This equation for ID is equal to Kn by 2 times of VGS minus VTO, VDS minus VDS square. This equation is valid only for these values of VDS. That means VDS should lie between 0 and VGS minus VT. And this region where ID is increasing linearly with VDS, where ID is increasing linearly with VDS up to this point, is called as the linear region of operation. Is called as what? The linear region of operation. Then what is this region called? This region is called as saturation region of operation. This region is called as what? Saturation region of operation. But more on this we will see in case 3. More on this we will see in case 3, because I have told you that the current remains constant, but I have not told you why it remains constant. So for now we will restrict our discussion only to case 2, and you will show only these green lines, and you can say that this negative transconductance is not exhibited by a practical MOS. It's not exhibited. So why it does not do that? That question I will answer in case 3. So please draw these characteristics. No need to write what I have written, but only draw the characteristics. This is the characteristics in the linear region of operation. Okay, so we'll just wait for 2-3 minutes more so that everyone is on the same page. Okay, so let's go ahead now. So once you have drawn the characteristics, you should observe that from the characteristics it can be observed that if VDS increases, then ID is going to increase. So this should be, sorry, should be increase. Increases linearly with VDS. ID reaches a peak value at VDS equal to. So why that value of VGS minus VTO is so important? Because ID will reach a peak value at VGS minus VTO. When VDS is equal to VGS minus VTO, that time it will reach its peak value. Thereafter, the graph exhibits negative transconductance. Graph means mathematics tells us that this will now exhibit a negative transconductance, but that doesn't happen. However, negative transconductance is not exhibited by a practical MOSFET. Instead, ID remains a constant for VDS greater than VGS minus VT. So if that is the case, then we have to say, then this condition or this equation for ID is valid only in the region 0 less than VDS less than VGS minus VTO, and the locus of all points where ID reaches this peak value is called as VGS minus VTO locus, and very well we can see that it is parabolic in nature. So point to be noted that the given equation is valid only when VDS is between 0 and VGS minus VT. Now coming to case 3, so you can see here the condition on VGS is the same. In case 2 also VGS was greater than VTO. In case 3 also VGS is greater than VTO. Now what has changed is the condition on VDS. Previously VDS was between 0 and VGS minus VTO. Now VDS is greater than VGS minus VTO. So we are now considering those values of VDS which are greater than VGS minus VTO. So now in this case what will happen? So one needs to understand that if you increase VDS beyond VGS minus VTO, then what happens is the channel actually pinches off. So you can draw like this. So just note that there was a pinch off. This word was used in JFET also, but here the pinch off is slightly different. So this is like the length of the channel. I'll call it as capital L, and this is like the new length. So this is nothing but L dash, and delta L is the reduction in the value of L. And what all things we have here? So everywhere here you can show negative immobile ions. So please show this, and once you are done drawing this, write done in the chat box. So very important thing here, that is channel is pinched off. So initially it was trapezoidal, but there comes a point where at this point, when this dotted line you can see this happens. So you see this red dotted line when VDS is equal to VGS minus VT, and you see this blue channel like this. Okay, so pinch off, I will say, increases with increase in VDS. So in a way, this delta L, this amount of pinch off is given by delta L. It is a function of VDS. More VDS, more pinch off. Soham, just to recheck, is my voice and my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So please copy this, all of you. Once you are done, write done in the chat box. So now we are going to see one of the most important parameters of the MOSFET, which is called as channel length modulation parameter. So we have seen three different parameters. One is threshold voltage, then we have seen gamma. Now we will see something called as lambda. These are enough to understand MOSFETs for lifetime. There are many others, but they don't affect the behavior very significantly. So you can see that I am using the same diagram again and again. The base diagram remains the same. Something happens inside. Sometimes there is no channel. Sometimes there is channel between the drain and the source. And sometimes the channel is there, but it is pinched off. So now the question arises, Are, there is again no connection between drain and source. Now can the current flow? So the answer is yes, because by this time the barrier is pretty high. VDS is not just greater than 0, but it is even greater than VGS minus VT. So we will see how. Okay, Soham, still I'll wait for a couple of minutes. I want everybody to be on the same page. So some more things you can observe from here is that, L dash is equal to L minus delta L, and we can write L dash as like delta L into delta L into 1 minus delta L upon L. And this ratio is basically something that we need to worry about. Anyways, so let's move on to the explanation of this. So drain current measurement with constant VGS shows that ID does not show much variation as a function of the drain voltage VDS beyond the saturation boundary, but rather remains approximately constant around the peak value reached for VDS is equal to VDSC. The saturation level can be found by substituting VDS equal to VGS minus VTO in the linear current equation. So if you want to find out, if you want to find out what is this level, what is this value of current, then what you can do is, at this point we know that the value of VDS is, let's say, VGS3 minus VTO. So if you put this in the equation of the current here, if you put the value of VDS here, then you will get the equation for current in saturation region. So what we are going to do here is, the saturation level can be found by substituting VDS equal to VGS minus VTO in the linear current equation. But linear current equation was this. Now in this you can see there are VDS in two places, here as well as here. So if I substitute that, you can see here this will be 2 VGS minus VTO the whole square, and this will be VGS minus VTO the whole square. So we will remain only with 1, that is ID is equal to Kn by 2 VGS minus VTO the whole square. Now this equation is called as the saturation current equation. How did we get this? By putting VDS equal to VGS minus VTO in the linear current equation. So we put this here and we got this equation. So now if you look at this equation, at VDS equal to VGS minus VTO, so at VGS equal to VGS minus VTO, channel thickness at drain side is 0. Channel thickness at drain side is 0, and channel is pinched off at the drain end as shown by the dotted line. So in the diagram I have shown a red dotted line, and you can see channel is pinched off at the drain end as shown by the red dotted line when VDS is equal to VGS minus VT. Now if we increase VDS, so equal hai to on the verge of pinch off, and if VDS is greater than VGS minus VT, the channel pinch off increase because the drain side depletion region is going to widen, and that will result in an increased channel pinch off. So channel pinch off increases. So if the channel pinch off increases, the effective channel length, so previously the channel was extending between drain and source, now the channel length has reduced, so it becomes L dash, and this L dash is going to be lesser than L, and we have seen just now that this delta L is going to be L minus L dash. Needless to say, this delta L is a function of VDS, because who is causing this change? You are changing the value of VDS. You are keeping it equal to VGS minus VTO. You are making it bigger than VGS minus VTO, and because of that, this pinch off or no pinch off is happening. So that is the reason why delta L is a function of VDS. Now, how does this affect? So why ID remains constant? So if you look at the source and the drain terminal, we have a channel. So RC is your channel resistance, you can see here. So there is a channel and the channel is pinched off. So between the channel and the drain, there is a depletion region. So this is a depletion resistance. So RC is the resistance of the channel, RD is the resistance of the depletion resistance. Now, the total voltage that you are applying between source and drain is VDS. The total voltage that you are applying between source and drain is how much? VDS. Now, the channel says that the maximum voltage that I can take across me is VDS sat, and this VDS sat is VGS minus VTO. This value is equal to what? VGS minus VT. So let us say if VGS is 2, VTO is 1, this is going to be 1 volt. Let us say I am applying 5 volts here. So 5 minus 1, so this is VDS sat. Actually this should be VDS minus VDS sat. So VDS minus VDS sat, so VDS is 5 minus 1, that is 4. So out of the total 5 volts, you can see 1 volt appears across the channel and 4 volts, that is 80% of it is appearing across the depletion region. Now this voltage, this 4 volts of voltage, so will cause a very high electric field in the channel. So what is the unit of electric field? Volts per meter. Here the voltage is 4 volts and the distance between the channel and the drain, this distance is in nanometers, and roughly it would be around like 1 nanometer. So if you just see this, this is 4 into 10 raised to 9 volts per meter. So this is like a 4 gigavolts per meter of electric field in the channel region across the depletion region, and this is sufficient to pull the electrons from the channel into the drain, from the channel into the drain. So let me just show you like this. This is your source, this is your drain, this is our channel, and this is our depletion region. So we are applying VDS in this way. So the conventional flow of current would be in this way. Now what is there here in between? There are depletion charges. So if you want to overcome them, how can you overcome a depletion charge? You can overcome a depletion charge by applying excess voltage, and this time the VDS is really very high and will help the electrons to flow from source to drain via the pinched off channel. Now why current remains constant is because the voltage across the channel is fixed. The voltage across the channel is fixed. Even if I apply 4 volts here, channel बोलता है मेरे across fixed VDS sat. VDS sat means 1 volt, and the excess voltage will come here. So if the voltage across the channel is fixed, the velocity at which the electrons are moving inside the channel is also constant. If the velocity is constant, that means the electrons are not accelerating, so they are moving with a constant speed. That is why the rate of flow of charge is also constant, and rate of flow of charge is nothing but current. That is why ID also remains a constant. So this is the reason why ID remains a constant in all this, and the depletion region between the source and the drain, where the distance is very small, can be overcome by this excess electric field generated by the voltage VDS. So this is something that we need to keep in mind, why ID remains constant. That is why one dedicated slide is on that. So just to reiterate, since VGS is constant, the N channel conductivity is constant. Hence, if VGS becomes greater than VGS minus VTO, channel voltage remains constant to VDS sat. So even this is not VGS, this is VDS. So if VDS becomes greater than VGS minus VTO, channel voltage itna hi, that is VGS minus VTO. The excess VDS will appear across the pinch-off region. This leads to a large electric field in the pinch-off region from the drain to the pinched-off channel. As a result, the electrons on the channel overcome the barrier. So electrons are there on the channel. They overcome the barrier due to the depletion charge density QBO and can reach the drain. However, when the electrons move from source to drain, their velocity is fairly constant, and hence the channel voltage remains a constant. Therefore, ID also remains a constant. So this is the logical explanation for why ID remains constant. Now, what we have to understand here is a phenomena called as channel length modulation. So just now we saw that L changes to L dash. L changes to what? L dash. So if L changes to L dash, you know that ID is mu n cox W by L. Na? So L is changing to what? L dash. So that is the reason why your current is likely to change. So the change is by how much? That is the question. Due to this, the effective channel length is going to decrease. So L dash is L minus delta L, where delta L is a function of VDS. Now we can write L dash. So you can see L I have taken common, and delta L upon L is again a constant. So delta L upon L is proportional to VDS. So here I have put a proportionality constant here, lambda, and delta L upon L is unitless. Okay, so the unit of lambda will be volt raised to minus 1, because this is volts and this has to be volt raised to minus 1. Then only LHS will be equal to RHS. The typical value of lambda is 0.01 to 0.05. Now we know that ID is this. In the saturation region, we have substituted VDS as VGS minus VTO, and we got this equation. But at the same time, the length did not remain the same. The length changed from L to L dash. So now we have to account for that in the formula of current. So instead of L, you can see now I have written L dash. But what is the formula for L dash? L dash is going to be L into 1 minus lambda times of VDS, because here we could see here L dash was L into 1 minus delta L upon L, and this delta L upon L was lambda times of VDS. So we could write L dash is L into 1 minus lambda times of VDS, and that exactly I have written it here. Now let me just rearrange this formula. So this is your current when there is no channel length modulation, and here we have 1 minus lambda VDS raised to minus 1. So this denominator I have just taken it to the numerator and I have written it here minus 1. So just some simple mathematics, that if 1 minus x raised to minus 1 is 1 plus x, if x is very small as compared to 1. So lambda, as you see, it was 0.01, and this will be like 3 volts or not more than 5 volts, 3, 4 or 5. So this value will not exceed like 0.05 or 0.03, and hence this assumption is very good, and therefore we can write that this term 1 minus lambda VDS raised to minus 1 is 1 plus lambda VDS, and here x was much smaller than 1. Here lambda VDS is going to be very small as compared to 1. So the formula changes to simply ID is equal to mu n CoX by 2 W by L VGS minus VTO the whole square, and now we got this additional term which is 1 plus lambda VDS. And so I want you to copy this thing. So please copy this channel length modulation. Just copy this. So just note down this particular formula. L dash is L into 1 minus lambda times of VDS. Yes, I want everybody to write this. Okay. So in the Viva, they will like ask you what is the unit of gamma. So it was volt raised to half. Here, what is the unit of lambda? Volt raised to -1. What was gamma? Gamma was body bias parameter or body bias effect parameter, and lambda is nothing but channel length modulation parameter. Okay. So what it means is if VDS increases, ID increases gradually. So this 1 plus this lambda VDS is a very small term. Okay. So in most of the cases, if lambda is 0, then ID is totally a function of VGS. But ID depends, we were saying that in saturation ID is not a function of VDS. But there is a slight dependency on VDS, not abrupt. Okay, not abrupt with VDS. So this leads to a slope in the output characteristics, and this phenomena by which ID slightly increases with increase in VDS is called as channel length modulation. So in BJT we call this slope with something called as a early voltage, and in FETs we call this as channel length modulation. So in case 3, actually we should get a constant line like this. Okay, so this is true when ID is Kn by 2 into VGS minus VTO the whole square. So you get a constant line, but the effective channel length actually reduces, and because of that you get this green, you get a slight slope in the characteristics, and that is why now the characteristics looks like this. So you will not show this negative transconductance, you will show only this rising green line with a slight slope in the characteristics. So show it this way. So because of CLM, what happened? There was a slight slope in the characteristics. Now in our calculations, whenever we do AC analysis and DC analysis, we don't want the entire MOSFET theory in our mind. But what I want in mind is what I am going to now summarize. And you will also write it down in the same way, exactly the same way. Once you are done drawing this graph, write done in the chat box. So first it was like this, then when we introduced 1 plus lambda term here, this constant होना चाहिए था, but there is a slight slope in the characteristics, and this slope is not like this. Okay, it's not like this, it's a slight slope. So ID is more or less constant, but yes, if you change VDS in a very large way, then only you will realize that there is a change in the slope. Now if you want to make this, if you want that this should be like perfectly flat, then you saw that this lambda was actually, or we will say VDS into lambda was delta L upon L. So lambda is equal to delta L upon L divided into 1 by VDS. So if you want this lambda to be 0, then you should increase the value of L. That means you should use bigger MOSFETs. So what it means is, if the MOSFET size is going to be large, then the value of CLM is very small. It is as good, so lambda is as good as 0. But if you are planning to make the device smaller and smaller, if you are trying to make an integrated circuit, and if you are trying to make everything very compact, then you will have to combat the effect of channel length modulation, because then the characteristics will slightly change. So this is what an engineer should remember. What happens if the MOSFETs are big? We will get a constant current in the saturation. But if you are trying to make it small, then the current will have some kind of slope in the saturation region, and that will give rise to some kind of non-linearity. So all these things you have to keep in mind when you actually design the whole thing. So are you done with this? Just write done in the chat box so that we can summarize. Jose, Rohan, Tanvi, are you done drawing these characteristics? Okay. So let's summarize. So we have input characteristics, which is VGS versus ID, and only when VGS is greater than threshold voltage, you get a current. Okay, so you can see this is called as cutoff. So VGS is less than VTO, that is called as cutoff, and VGS is greater than VTO. VGS is greater than VTO. We don't know. From the input characteristics, we can't say just based on VGS whether it is in linear or saturation. So for that, I have to see the output characteristics. So I'll just go back one step. For this, I have to go back and I have to calculate what is VGS minus VTO. If VDS is greater than VGS minus VTO, we will say that the MOSFET is in saturation. If it is less than VGS minus VTO, we will say it is in linear. So that is why you can see in case 2 as well as case 3, VGS was always greater than 0, but case 2 was linear, case 3 was saturation. So here, as far as input characteristics are concerned, which is VGS versus ID, when VGS is less than VTO 100%, you can say that the MOSFET is in cutoff. But if VGS is greater than VTO, we can say the MOSFET is on, but whether it is linear or saturation, for that we have to investigate the output characteristics. So first you all draw this input characteristics, then we'll go ahead. Draw the input characteristics. So we are drawing the characteristics based on what we are seeing. Nothing great. But yes, for the first timer, this is something to be introspected later. And that is why this discussion we will support with a lab session. I think it's just 30 minutes remaining. So probably on coming Thursday, the first 1 hour we will take our lab session, and then remaining 2 hours will be with theory. But this is important, because unless we do this, we cannot go ahead with the next experiment. So if you are done drawing this, write input char done. Okay, wait for a couple of minutes. So from input characteristics, you cannot say whether the transistor is in linear or saturation, and from output characteristics, you cannot say whether the transistor is in cutoff. Okay, so you have to look at both together to understand what's going on. Okay, so let's see the first approximation of the MOSFET. Okay, so case 1, so just I am summarizing. Case 1 was VGS less than VTO and VDS was greater than 0. That means ID was equal to 0. That is, the MOSFET was in cutoff region of operation. No channel exists between drain and source. So first is the condition, and then in the bracket we have condition existing in the channel. Case 2, VGS is greater than VTO and VDS is between 0 and VGS minus VTO. Here ID was linear, so ID was a function of both VGS and VDS, and this region was called as linear region of operation. So channel exists between drain and source under this condition. So the formula of VTO I am writing here because VTO is everywhere and we have done problems on how to calculate the value of VTO. Case 3, VGS is again, so you can see case 2 and case 3, the condition on VGS is the same, only the condition on VDS is different. So this is called as the saturation region of operation. Here also the channel exists between the drain and the source, but is pinched off at the drain end. At the drain end. So this is called as the first approximation of the MOSFET, that is called as GCA, that is gradual channel approximation, and this does not consider body bias, and this also does not consider the value of lambda, meaning lambda and body bias both are 0, and this is like the most ideal MOSFET, which is never going to be the case. So, but we have to start with this. This is the first approximation of the MOSFET. So every time you forget something, cutoff, linear or saturation, you have to come to this page. You have to come to this page. Okay, remember this. So once you are done, you can write done in the chat box. So the value of threshold voltage is generally given. It's around in the range of like 0.5 to 1 volts. Once you are done writing this, write GCA done in the chat box. GCA done in the chat box. Okay, Soham. Let's wait for another couple of minutes.
So could you repeat the full form of GCA?
Gradual channel approximation.
Thank you.
So let's add now body bias effect. So what used to happen when we used to apply body bias? Who used to change? The threshold voltage used to change. So now I am writing the second approximation of the MOSFET, that is GCA plus body bias. Okay, so here the output characteristics was like this. Okay, completely flat here. Okay, so exactly, so no need to copy this, but just for your reference. And this was your input characteristics, VGS less than VTO and VGS greater than VTO. Now I am writing here same, but now I am adding GCA plus body bias. GCA plus body bias. So body bias affects only the threshold voltage. So that is why now you can see exactly what you have written before. In that every VTO is replaced by VT. Every VTO is replaced by VT. Absolutely no other change. So you can just write it in short, no need to write it down again. If you have GCA plus body bias, just write VTO changes to VT. And what is the formula for VT? This is the formula for VT, that is VTO plus gamma times of all this. Have you understood this? Now I added one extra effect. And how did the current equations change? That is there on your screen. So the threshold voltage will affect the current in the linear as well as the saturation. ID equal to 0, cutoff is anyways not affected much. So yes, so the body bias effect affects ID in both linear as well as saturation. So just note this down. No need to write this all the equations again. You only write VTO changes to VT and write the formula for VT. And now I am adding. So what happens to this? How the characteristics change because of this? Now you can see here, previously this was VGS minus VTO, and now this is going to be VT. So if VT reduces, then this point will move on this side. If VT reduces, because this is 2 volts and let's say this is 0.5, it is at this point. But if it becomes 0.4, then this difference will be more, so it will be moving on this side. And if VT increases, then my linear region will become smaller and saturation will increase. So what actually happens here is, if VT reduces, then the linear region becomes bigger and saturation becomes smaller, and if the VT increases, then the linear region becomes smaller and saturation increases. So no need to show this, but this is just what happens, and this we will observe in the simulation. We'll change the threshold voltage and check whether this thing happens or not. And here also you can see, instead of VTO, we are having now VT. This point also was VTO, that has become VT. Now I have kept GCA body effect. Now I am adding CLM, that is channel length modulation. Now again, channel length modulation appears only in saturation region. It doesn't appear in the linear region. So case 1 and case 2 remain unaffected. Only case 3 equation changes. So you can see 1 and 2, they are the same, but only one additional term, 1 plus lambda VDS, comes into the picture when we talk about saturation. So this is like a better model of the MOSFET. So copy this completely, and once done, write done in the chat box. Once you are done with this, just write done in the chat box. So I want you to mark these 3 pages where you have written GCA, GCA plus body bias effect, and GCA plus body bias effect plus CLM. I will always come back at these pages whenever required. So again, cutoff region, no current. Linear saturation, there is a current. In linear, channel exists between drain and source, and in saturation, channel exists between drain and source, but it is pinched off at the drain end. And the CLM affects only the saturation current of the MOSFET. So this was the summary of the currents in the MOSFET. So now what will happen to the output characteristics? There will be a slope. So you can see here that VTO has become VT and there is a slope. Okay, and in the output characteristic, in the input characteristic, there is no change. So this is what happens. I will be sending you these slides right now, and just to avoid drawing so many characteristics. So those who are just copying this can copy